The successful defense of Eger came at an extraordinary human cost. Though the fortress remained unconquered after 39 days of continuous assault by the Ottoman army, survivors, soldiers, and civilians alike, emerged physically and mentally devastated. The aftermath of the siege revealed not only widespread injuries but also profound psychological trauma, highlighting the enduring impact of prolonged warfare on individuals and communities. By the conclusion of the siege, exhaustion among defenders was universal. Soldiers who had fought continuously at the walls, engaged in hand-to-hand combat, and endured relentless artillery bombardment were physically spent. Many suffered from severe injuries, including burns, fractures, cuts, and musket wounds. Basic medical care was limited during the siege, and even after its conclusion, survivors faced slow and painful recovery, often without proper treatment or rehabilitation. Infection and long-term disability were common among those wounded in battle. Civilians, too, bore immense suffering. Men and women had contributed to the defense in critical ways, carrying ammunition, repairing walls, and directly confronting enemy soldiers. Children and the elderly had participated in supporting roles, often exposed to danger. Hundreds of civilian deaths had occurred, and many survivors were left with physical injuries or chronic pain. Beyond the visible wounds, the psychological burden weighed heavily on all who had endured the siege. The mental toll of Eger's defense cannot be overstated. Constant exposure to life-threatening combat, the deaths of comrades and neighbors, and the stress of continuous bombardment created lasting trauma. Survivors exhibited symptoms consistent with what modern medicine would identify as post-traumatic stress. Nightmares, anxiety, depression, and persistent fear were common among those who had lived through the siege. For some, even simple tasks or returning to pre-siege routines were fraught with emotional difficulty. Leadership played a crucial role in mitigating, but not eliminating, the psychological damage. Commanders like Istvan Tobo worked tirelessly to maintain morale during the siege, offering encouragement and organizing defenders in ways that provided structure amid chaos. Yet, once the siege ended, the psychological strain became more apparent. Without the immediate focus on survival, many defenders confronted the full weight of trauma they had suppressed during battle. The long-term impact on families and communities was profound. Widows and orphans coped with the loss of loved ones, while neighborhoods bore the scars of physical destruction. Buildings, homes, and fortifications were damaged or destroyed, forcing reconstruction efforts that added to the physical and emotional strain. Communities that had rallied together during the siege now faced the dual challenge of rebuilding while grieving and caring for those who had been injured or psychologically affected. Medical and social resources were inadequate to address the scale of trauma. Field hospitals had been overwhelmed during the siege, and many injuries had gone untreated. Post-siege care relied on the limited knowledge and supplies available at the time, often leaving survivors to endure chronic pain or disability. The lack of organized psychological support meant that trauma persisted long after the last cannon shot, shaping the lives of survivors for years to come. Despite these hardships, the human spirit demonstrated resilience. Communities came together to support survivors, share resources, and begin the reconstruction of the fortress and surrounding areas. Soldiers, civilians, and leaders collaborated to repair walls, restore infrastructure, and care for the injured. The shared experience of suffering and survival forged a sense of solidarity, even amid lingering physical and psychological scars. The Siege of Eger provides a historical case study of the profound human costs of early modern warfare. While military strategy, leadership, and fortification often dominate historical accounts, the experiences of survivors reveal the lasting consequences of sustained combat on human bodies and minds. Physical exhaustion and trauma were as decisive in shaping post-siege life as the outcome of battle itself. In the broader historical context, Eger's survivors exemplify the intersection of heroism and human vulnerability. Their courage and endurance ensured the survival of the fortress and the defeat of the Ottoman assault. Yet they also faced the painful reality that victory in war often comes at the expense of personal well-being. The interplay between strategic success and human suffering underscores the complexity of warfare during this period. The psychological scars also influenced subsequent defense strategies and military planning. Commanders and local authorities recognized that maintaining morale, providing rest, and caring for the wounded were as important as fortifications and weaponry. The lessons learned at Eger contributed to evolving approaches to siege warfare, emphasizing not only tactical considerations but also the human factors that could determine the outcome of prolonged engagements. In conclusion, the defense of Eger stands as both a triumph and a testament to the cost of war. While the fortress remained unbroken and the Ottoman army retreated, the defenders, soldiers, and civilians emerged from the siege physically wounded and mentally scarred. Exhaustion, trauma, and the loss of life shaped the post-siege environment, influencing families, communities, and military planning for years to come. Eger's experience underscores that the human dimension of warfare is as significant as its strategic and tactical elements. The sacrifices made by defenders ensured survival and victory, yet they also left a legacy of suffering that endured long after the cannons fell silent. The siege reminds us that behind every historical military triumph are real people who endured unimaginable hardships, proving the resilience of the human spirit even in the darkest hours of conflict. The survivors' stories continue to resonate through history, offering insight into the psychological and physical toll of sustained conflict. They serve as a powerful reminder of the true cost of war, the courage required to endure it, and the lasting consequences for those who live through battles that define nations and shape history.